Welcome back. I'm now joined by Steve Menendian. Welcome, Steve.
Great to be here. Thanks, Randy.
What do you make of the decks we've seen so far? I don't know. Did you have any idea what either Eric or Dave was bringing to the table?
I think so. I think Eric is playing the ninth place deck from Vintage Championship.
Really?
Yeah. So it's this guy Jacob Hilty who's playing a Gush deck that has oaths in the sideboards. So I think that's what he's playing, and I think Dave is just playing straight bug, but I can't really tell. I didn't get to see too much of it.
Interesting. Is that a matchup you were expecting? I know you had to think about what these guys are playing because you're planning to play one of them or the other in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. One of my friends said, Steve, your metagame is either 50 to 100% LSV. So
Sure. Did you put Dave or Eric on anything in particular coming in?
you know, I don't want to sort of reveal anything just yet.
Oh, yeah, fair. I certainly don't want you to reveal your deck. You still have to play Luis. Now, what do you make of this matchup then? If it is kind of bug versus, how do you even describe this deck? What did you say the guy who finished ninth?
I think it's just a Gush deck, Gush Bond deck that doesn't use Pyromancer, but it's got more combo cards. So I think if he has Gifts Ungiven, then he's definitely playing Jacob's deck, the ninth place deck from Vintage Championship. But it has Oath in the sideboard. I just think it's a great match. I think the Abrupt Decays are obviously a fantastic answer for the Oath sideboard plan. I don't think Eric's going to get too much mileage out of that. So the question is he going to be able to slow the Gush Bond?
Sure. We shall see.
Yeah, this hand with Eric's hand does not look very keepable here. He's got Gush and Abrupt Decay, but he's got a functional mulligan to 6, if not 5,
right,
with Tendrils and Blightsteel. So it'll be interesting to see whether Eric keeps this. Dave's hand has turn 1 Chains of Mephistopheles.
What does that do?
So he can play Bob and or Chains, and obviously that's a synergistic combo because Bob does not trigger the Chains. So I think he's probably going to lead with Bob here.
Yeah. The Chains doesn't do anything all by itself.
So that's pretty. This is fascinating. Yeah.
Wow, Eric kept that hand. I am surprised. I guess he really loves the Abrupt Decay Gush aspect of it.
Yeah, and he had a misstep. These guys are playing pretty quickly here.
Yeah. Chains goes down for David.
Definitely a card you don't see very often these days.
When's the last time you played against Chains of Mephistopheles?
In Vintage, at least 10 years.
10 years?
It might have been 11. In Legacy, it sometimes shows up as an anti-high tide card. But the last time I can remember people playing that was in multicolor workshops as a anti-thirst tactic. So 5 color stacks.
Do you like it in Dave's deck?
It's difficult to evaluate, but I think he's nailed the metagame pretty well. So at least this metagame, Eric. So it's interesting. I'm not sure, if it's the best card for that spot, but it seems to be doing pretty well for him. And frankly, with Dak Faden, that's pretty sweet. So.
Right. Yeah, it seems like it combos with Dak and it turns off your opponent's treasure cruises. So, I mean, that might be enough to justify it all by itself.
Interesting. He's going to misstep the Vamp.
Huh.
He doesn't want to be dealing with Tinker, although what he doesn't know is that Eric may not have a great deal of choice here. So Gifts Ungiven is not turned off by Chains of Mephistopheles.
Sure.
But what, of course, David doesn't know is that Tinker is not an option here.
It's tough to go get a Tinker when the Blightsteel's in your hand, that's for sure. David spends both of his missteps to stop that Vampiric.
If Eric were to find Brainstorm, he could play a Brainstorm into the Chains, and I think that would allow him to get rid of...
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
Chain's pretty good against Gush, too. I mean, Eric, I guess if he gushes on David's turn, then he only
Right.
has to discard once, and
Right.
it's card neutral.
Right. Not ideal.
Huh. Man, I like changing this metagame, too. Luis has played blue decks every week.
Yeah.
You've played a lot of Delver in your day, and a lot of card drawing spells in all your decks.
Yeah. Yeah. Change is a nightmare for Doomsday.
Sure.
It's almost impossible to combo out when you've got Chains of play. Imagine how long it would take me to figure out that pile, Randy.
Does Chains hit every draw on the opponent's turn, or is it just?
I think it doesn't hit the first one on the opponent's draw.
Is it the first of the card or the first of the draw step?
It's the
it's first of the draw step. The only
right. So, but if you play, for example, Ancestral Recall in your opponent's draw step, in your opponent's draw step, you'll get to draw your first card, and then you have to begin.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah, the card seems to refer to your own draw step.
Oh, that's okay. So I stand.
It's even better.
Corrected. Yeah.
Anyway, it's dead now. Abrupt decay has happened.
Interesting that he wanted to get rid of the change instead of Bob. That shows you, I guess for Dave, that's victory, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a great point. Yeah, he went for the chains, leaving Dark Confidant to just continue to generate value. Abrupt decay is a pretty good call for this metagame on Eric's part.
Yeah, there isn't much that Abrupt Decay doesn't destroy in terms of what's relevant in our metagame.
All right. Eric is gushing. He's got a Lotus. Now he's got a library. Did he already play his land this turn? Wow.
Whoa.
Force of Will, your Black Lotus.
Dave is a gamer.
I think David knows that he's ahead on board. Yeah, he just wants to stop Eric from developing his position at all.
Yeah, tempo plays here.
That is a ballsy tempo play.
You think he'd
it's not just counter the Black Lotus. It's Force of Will pitching Force of Will the Black Lotus.
Right. I mean, you could also just Abrupt Decay it, but he doesn't want him to use it at all.
Yeah, you're not going to get that chance.
It's not like Eric had a lot to do. I guess he could have played Tendrils, but that's it.
Yeah, it wasn't going to do a whole lot. He may actually have gotten a chance to Abrupt Decay it. Still, crunch for 4, draw cards with Dark Confidant. It's a cool line.
If this Thoughtseize resolved, he's on a 2-turn clock. So
yeah, Eric's got to be careful about casting it.
Interesting to see whether David will counter the Thoughtseize. The full turn is obviously a big deal here. And Abrupt Decay and Echoing Truth are very similar value. Of course, Echoing Truth can bounce a Blightsteel.
Would Tendrils have actually been lethal on that turn? It would have, wouldn't it?
Oh, he had. He could have.
I guess he could have forced 1 copy of Tendrils, but that's obviously terrible.
To survive.
By forcing the Lotus, Dave actually stopped a lethal Tendrils.
Oh, of course. And when you have Dark Confidant, every turn is a potential lethal flip. So that was absolutely the correct play.
Yeah.
This Deathrite Shaman can definitely help.
Get him that extra turn.
Yeah.
Force the Will at your underground, or Strip Mine your underground.
Tough choice as to whether Eric can gush here, because if he gushes, he'll survive. I mean, he'll keep his lands around, but having no land on the board at the beginning of this next turn means he's not going to be able to do much.
Well, it's only 1 land worse than the 1 land he would have by not gushing. think the gush
Right.
is correct.
Right. But if he draws like a DT or something like that, that could make a big difference. I think I would have been inclined just to let the strip mine resolve, actually.
Interesting. I like the gush play. I'm not sure either line works out, though.
Yeah.
Here's the death right, so
He
essentially
he
presenting
needs like a
lethal.
toxic deluge here right now.
He's got nothing.
Oh.
Wow. What a crazy game. Yeah, Dave has Dark Confidant, Chains of Mephistopheles. Eric has essentially too many targets for his Abrupt Decay, has to take out the chain, is able to stitch together a potentially lethal Tendrils, but Dave sniffs it out, Force of Wills the Black Lotus, and then is able to clean up 2 turns later with that Dark Confidant that Eric couldn't afford to kill when he had to target a Chains of Mephistopheles.
We may have just witnessed the first Abrupt Decay on Chains of Mephistopheles ever.
In the history of Magic, you think it's never happened? That might be right. That's awesome. Wow, these are cool games.
Yeah,
cool
this
decks
is
too.
It seems like the last match was razor thin too, so this could go really down to the wire. Dave's opening hand in Game 3 of the last match was unbelievable in terms of having answers to that Tinker. I was like, yeah, I'm really impressed that Eric won that game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm also really impressed by the way Dave keeps managing to leverage his poker skills. Like, that was a sick read, right? He put Eric on Tendrils. Like, why are you playing your card?
Right.
Wow, you have a Tendrils, don't you? I need to stop
Right.
Black Loons from happening. It's like, did you see the feature match from the Pro Tour where he was playing against Paul Reitzel? And just every morph Paul Reitzel put into play, Dave just nailed them all. It's like before Paul Turner, he just kept telling him what his morphs were, and he kept being right. It's really funny.
I guess if you're a poker player, you're oriented towards playing towards your outs. Or
Good stuff. Great. Now, game 2 of the middle match. Dave needs to win one of the next 2 in order to force that third match. Eric is up a match at this point. That's why you see the W and the L. Best 2 out of 3 matches for the quarterfinal. The semifinal will be the same way. Best 2 out of 3 matches.
Oh, Eric has an emerald and a pearl for mana. That is not keepable.
He has a dig through time.
Yeah, he has double force, but no blue mana, no black mana.
Dave has 1 land in his draw.
But he does have, and he's got a tough decision because he can either hold a Pyroblast or he can get black and play Vamp.
Well, he can leave the fetch land in play and wait to make the decision.
Right. And of course, if he draws a land, then it's not going to be as tough. But if it's an island or a wasteland, he has to commit to either the red or the blue.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Eric mulligans. He has only a Black Lotus for land, and he has the Grizzlebrand in his hand. So yeah, cash that in. Wow, Grizzlebrand and the Oath again. What a terrible.
No blue mana.
Yeah.
Okay, we found
with all those. Down to 4 cards. I agreed with all those mulligan decisions. But yeah, he can't be feeling very lucky right now. We wanted to go the full 3 matches, right?
Oh, yeah. And hopefully all the maximum number of games.
Well, the true maximum number of games requires Eric to come back and win this one. That would be impressive.
That's true.
Although Dave did keep the 1 land hand. This draw could flop.
When your opponent mulligans to 4 and has 2 cards in hand, I think he's just going to vamp for Ancestral here.
Especially with a misstep to defend it with.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. That seems like the right line.
Eric has the Oath. Now, is he going to show his hand? Does Dave know that Eric is playing Oath yet?
He saw them in the last match.
Okay. Well, yep, here it comes, Vamp. Yeah, now if he gets Black Lotus, he could play Bob and DT, but I think he's just going to go Ancestral, right? Not the right.
I would get the Ancestral here.
I guess Black Lotus is equally valid. I mean,
wow, he gets Tropical Island. I mean, Volcanic Island. That's not crazy.
No, it's not. It's not. Not what I expected. I would think he would have gotten Lotus and then did that, but.
Well, you know what? If he does that though, he's like all of our lines are a little riskier than his. He's giving away like expected value in favor for guaranteed land, which when your opponent mulligans to 4 is a very reasonable thing to do.
And he for sure will be able to play the Pyroblast the turn after this. So the turn after this, he's going to be in solid control.
Huh. Although Eric's just going to keep playing out Oath of Druids.
Oh.
Dave does not have time to DT for an Abrupt Decay, so he pretty much has to fight this.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is another out. If he can flip a land, he can get Cage.
Oh, DT for Cage? Sure.
If he brought in the Cages.
Well, he let the Oath resolve, didn't he?
Yeah.
Misstep. And a land. Right, so he can Demonic Tutor for Grafdigger's Cage. With Force of Will, misstep, backup.
If he brought one in.
Well, he had one in the last match. So we have seen him play at least one Grafdigger's Cage. I mean, maybe he changed up his sideboarding this time around, but we've seen it.
Wow.
And here's the DT.
Yeah, Dave's line is actually better than I think both of ours. It worked out better given this sequence. Now the Cage is going to blank both of the Oath of Druids, leaving Eric with no way to get out of this.
It's going to be scary when this Force of Will happens, though.
Yeah.
I guess he knows Eric won't be able to force twice. So
my line would have committed him to DTing before the Oath hit. So this works out much better for Dave.
Nice. Yeah, force back, holds on to the misstep and the Echoing Truth. Now Oath goes on the stack, but not going to get activated.
Eric has just got blanks. Though he is on an 8-turn clock, he drew a third Oath there.
Wow. I mean, what Eric needs to do now is draw Abrupt Decay. If he draws Abrupt Decay for the Grafdigger's Cage, then he gets to activate Oath.
Oh, so he revealed Wasteland and then drew Ancestral. That's not fair.
Must be nice.
Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to Snapcaster the Ancestral, but I don't think it matters much.
Aw. Yeah, Grafdigger's Cage turns off the Snapcaster flashback. Can't play cards from graveyards. I don't think David's all that worried about that.
Dave's got to feel pretty good right here.
Yeah, now Eric has to draw running land Abrupt Decay.
And he needs both the green and the black to cast Abrupt Decay.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's 2 lands. Yeah. Wow.
Yawgmoth's Will. His deck is feeding him every card that's turned off by Cage.
Pretty sure we're going to go to match number 3 here.
Oh, nail the Mox. Dave, he needs a green. Oh, he's got the Lotus. I would not be surprised if he Abrupt Decays this Mox.
You would blow up the Mox? You just want the perfect victory?
He needs to get his little rub-ins there.
Huh. I mean, blowing up a land here is pretty solid. I mean, what does he need the Abrupt Decay for? He can't hit both Oaths, so he's obliged to defend his Grafdigger's Cage as much as possible.
He's doing it. Oh, no, he's going to...
Is he forgetting that Snapcaster's turned off by Cage?
Uh-oh.
He just
he just wants to use the rest of the mana. Makes sense.
Oh, sure. Right, his only access to green mana was from the Lotus, so he may as well do more with the green mana than just playing Abrupt Decay. Unbelievable. What do you put Eric Froehlich's odds of winning this game at right now?
0.01%.
So you would bet on him at 1,000 to 1 odds?
It might be low.
I feel like I could make a quick dollar right here.
Yeah.
All right, there's the.
I guess technically Eric has 3 turns, so he could draw. Yeah, it's really hard. I guess he couldn't even draw land abrupt decay. It wouldn't do it.
Is that right? Maybe David has a Blightsteel Colossus in his deck that we don't know about.
Because he would need
flip
to
it with Dark Confidant.
Yeah, he would need to be able to oath immediately, and he wouldn't survive on the last turn.
Dave could flip Force of Will, Force of Will, Force of Will.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
Eric's not going to bother. Yeah, I think he looked at one more Dark Confidant phase. It was not the first of the running 3 Force of Wills, so.
Yeah,
let's go to match number 3.
Yep.
That was nuts. So you like David's side of this matchup?
I think Dave probably has a slight advantage. But I don't think we've really seen Eric's deck do its thing, except, at least I haven't seen it yet.
Sure.
He hasn't gotten to really gush bond very much.
Yeah, in the first match, when Luis was doing the commentary, he set up he went turn 1 library, which Dave was able to wasteland, but turn 3, fast bond, gush, Yawgmoth's Will, Tendrils Kill.
That sounds more like it.
Yeah, exactly. And he had the Tendrils Kill in game 1, just didn't have the fast bond, so the Force of Will was enough to stop him.
Eric's deck is certainly capable of doing that.
Right.
I'm not sure if relying on the oath plan is the best way to go here.
I think if your opponent's going to play 12 creatures, if your opponent's got 12 creatures and say 1 or 2 Grafdigger's Cages, I think I want Oath in my deck. It's just I'm the one with threats, you're the one with answers, and I don't know. It seems like a very efficient threat.
It depends what he's taken out, but he could get Dave to overcommit to Oath answers, and then just have all the business and gas in those spots.
Yeah. I guess I don't think. I mean, Dave has seen enough of the deck to know it's really a fast bond gush deck.
Yeah.
And when the cages aren't even just Oath answers, since they also turn off the Yawgmoth's Will.
Yeah. It's pretty brutal. Dave's got to be a little bit, favored here, but I think Eric's deck could surprise us.
Yeah, no, I think when we saw the first match, it looked like Dave was going to win the first match, too. It was really impressive that Eric managed to win the match that he did. I don't know. Should be a fun one. We can pull the...
I'm going to grab some water.
If we can pull the bracket up, we can remind everybody where we are and exactly what's going on. This is effectively the quarterfinals. We cut to the top 4 players. Eric and Dave actually tied for the 3 seed at 5 and 4. No need to break that tie. They were playing each other either way. So Eric versus Dave. The winner of this goes to the semifinals to play the 2 seed, which we don't know who that is yet. It might be you. It might be Luis Scott Vargas. You guys are going to play right after this match to see which one of you won the league, won the regular season anyway, which one of you gets the 1 seed and the bye into the finals, and which one of you is going to have to play twice to try to win the whole thing. So let's go down to the match. Eric and Dave are playing best 2 out of 3 matches. At this point, they've split things 1 match apiece. So good old best 2 out of 3 games. Let's see what happens. Eric has Tropical Mana Crypt for mana. That should be plenty good enough with an Ancestral and a Preordain. Dave's kept his draw as well. Just a Jet and a Strip Mine for mana. But that's enough for a turn 1 Dark Confidant.
And the Strip Mine is going to hit Eric's first land.
Yep.
This will be interesting to see how this exactly plays out.
Yeah, it's good draws for both players. No, there is a blue card for that Force of Will in David's hand. He's got the Dak he can pitch.
if Eric decides to preordain but doesn't hit a land.
Well, Eric's going to force a will Dark Confidant is the first thing that's going to happen. Pitching preordain. Dave's going to force back, pitching a Dak Faden. Down comes Dark Confidant. Bob Maher still making his influence felt on the Vintage Super League.
Yeah, Dave's hand is actually also fine because he's got the vamp, so he can get a blue mana source if he needs it. Oh yeah, Eric's got to feel pretty good about resolving the Ancestral here now that he's drawn Misstep.
Yes, sir.
And he does not draw another land. Wow.
Yeah, no land. Does have both a Misstep and a Force of Will, though. Snapcaster is the revealer.
Ooh. And Dave has drawn the Deathride Shaman, which will give him every color he needs.
Yes,
if it resolves. If it resolves.
Blows the Strip Mine on what he doesn't realize is Eric's only land. Plays the Snapcaster. That's going to run into a Misstep, though. Wow.
Oh.
This is some magic. Fetch land off the top.
Now this is tricky because if he plays the preordain, he's turning off Force, especially if he's just going to dig for a second land.
Yeah, and he could have thought seized there, but he wants to dig with,
which is a little bit of a tempo play. Yeah, there's the land we anticipated. The question is,
you're going to get punished for not having Force of Will up here?
Right, exactly.
Mox is the revealed card. Tropical is the draw phase. Dark Confidant comes over for 2.
Interesting here, right? Because now Dave has Snapcaster up, and he can vamp for Ancestral.
Eric draws the Soul Ring that he left on top of his library. At least I think he did. Cracks a fetch. Get that Dark Confidant out of here. Main phase Abrupt Decay. You have drawn enough with that guy. Nothing Dave can do about that. He goes for the Vampiric. Eric can't do anything about this. No blue card to go with his Force of Will. No mental misstep. What do you think David wants? Do you think it's an Ancestral?
I think so, especially with the Snapcaster there.
Sure, even if you run it into a misstep, you then have the ability to Snapcaster it back. He needs a blue mana for that plan, though.
Yes, he does.
Still seems reasonable.
Especially if he draws another land. Oof. Oh, he didn't.
He went for Dark Confidant. Vampiric Tutor for Dark Confidant. Dave's Vampiric Tutors have been cool this game.
Right.
I mean, this whole match, this whole series, he's been making some interesting choices that I think have worked out really well for him.
Definitely. I mean, that's a legitimate play. It's unless Eric had a second Abrupt Decay, but he doesn't know that Eric, by playing the preordain, had turned off Force of Will, and therefore he probably would have been able to Ancestral twice there, draw a second land, and then Ancestral.
Yawgmoth's Will is the revealed card from Dark Confidant after Eric thought seized away Snapcaster. Bob chips away for 2.
Interesting. So Dave could have Yawg-Willed the Strip Mine back to try and take out the black mana.
Eric's building up kind of an interesting tendrils hand. Eric's actually got the ability to tendrils for 8 right now.
He's not far off. Yeah, he just needs a couple more storms. And now he's gotten the second blue spell. This is actually a dangerous position for Dave. By taking the slower routes, he's given Eric potentially more time.
Yeah, Eric just wants Dave to hit a Force of Will off Bob. Right, he can go. He's holding Mox, Soul Ring, Crypt, Tendrils. That's a Tendrils for 8. Could drop Dave to 4. All right, now it's dropped to 3. Dave cracks a fetch land. Oh, Dave. Eric doesn't have the second black mana for the tendrils, does he? And now this Yawgmoth's Will is threatening to go get a strip mine. I'm sure he would go for Underground Sea, which, yeah, Eric can't let happen. So he Force of Wills. Oh my. That's a Demonic Tutor, isn't it? Demonic Tutor,
even if you
Black Lotus. That's it, right? Demonic Tutor gets Black Lotus for black mana. Play 3 artifact mana. That's a Tendrils for 12. Wow.
Interesting.
Eric Froelich, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Eric had to force that Yawg-Will to stop the strip mine to make this to work.
Yeah, and he knew it, and he did. Didn't even hesitate. Yawgmoth's Will is going to strip mine my Underground Sea. Not having any of that. Unbelievable. David had this game the whole way. But I mean, when you're just attacking for 2 with Dark Confidant, it takes a little while. And that gave Eric time to set up this one broken turn.
And if he hadn't vamped for the Bob, he could have Ancestral, Snapcaster, Ancestral. And he would have had the same amount of damage, but potentially more control cards.
Maybe. He got all those cards anyway. Off the Dark Confidant. Though he lost some life for some of them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, without the second blue mana at the time he was making that Vampire Tutor decision, I totally liked his line. I mean, I think his line made a lot of sense. If he'd had the second blue mana, I would like your line a lot better. As it was, it felt like kind of a judgment call and just
right.
Yeah, the chat's going nuts. There's vintage for you. It was a very vintage happening game. Wow.
Yeah, and Abrupt Decay sitting in hand does nothing there.
True. So now Eric is 1 game away from advancing in a tough matchup where Dave's been making awesome plays right and left, and Eric with just the broken fast bond gush shenanigans deck.
Right.
1 game away. Wow. Now you got to like Eric. Up a game. This matchup seems close enough that you can't expect Dave to win 2 straight.
Well, anything can happen, but it's certainly, this is a fitting, right, for these close matches. It's hard to believe we're actually in the final game of the 3rd match. I mean, these things have just flown by.
True. Yeah, chat's pointing out that Dave's Thoughtseize would also have messed up your Ancestral Snapcaster line.
I think the next card he revealed was Delta, so he would have Ancestral into the land, and then he would have been able to Snapcast Ancestral.
Yeah, I mean, it was a judgment call for sure. When I saw that Dark Confidant was the card David got, though, it all kind of made sense. All right, let's go down to the game. Could be the last one. Eric Froelich could be on his way to the semifinals. Or we could go to one last final decider. We shall see.
Okay, looks like Eric has to mulligan yet again.
He has had more than his fair share. And David has a Black Lotus in his opener again. Although it's not an awesome opener. Right, all he gets to do is turn 1 DAC.
I'm not a fan of that. I think I would just hold the Lotus in the gate.
You would wait? Ugh, 3 oaths and 1
I would hold, Lotus allows you to play the gate.
Do you keep Eric's hand?
Oh my god. Triple Oath of Druids. This hand is just totally destroyed by Cage. I think is he on the
Eric's on the draw. Dave sack his Lotus for turn 1 DAC. No, he passes the turn. All right, Eric goes for a ponder. Wow. Eric's mulligan luck has been kind of awful. seen a lot of hands with a lot of Oath of Druids in them, which isn't necessarily bad, but those hands have never had an Orchard. They've never had... I bet he doesn't play 4 Orchards. I don't know, just watching the way this game is played out. I've only seen 1 Orchard from him at any point. Maybe where he sideboards in 1 or 2 when he sideboards into the Oath plan. Wow, Wasteland against his mulligan. Yeah, I think we lost connection with Steve, so maybe we'll add LSV to the call to round out this game's coverage.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we got Steve back. Great.
So he is.
He's going for turn 2 sack Lotus for Dak. That way he can leave up negate to defend it with.
That's. I think that makes the most sense.
And then time to plus. Discards a land and 2 lands. Now Eric's got his Forbidden Orchard without an Oath of Druids. He is going to get to Abrupt Decay the Dak at least. If he wants to. Plays the Orchard. These 2 guys are probably going to be doing a lot of trash talking after the match about who got lucky or whom. I think Eric wins that conversation, though, right?
Yeah, I think Eric and David are pretty good friends too, right?
Yeah, they're housemates. Like they live together.
Oh God.
They're literally in the same house right now, playing on different computers in different rooms.
Whoever advances, we're gonna have to have the other one commentary.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if they're yelling back and forth across the house.
Interesting that all that Eric's got will walk into the missteps. I would definitely misstep this preordained if I was Dave.
Yeah, especially with 2 of them in hand, right?
Yeah.
He's just going to pay the blue mana.
You just can't tell who's going to win this particular game. Yeah. This is just one of those examples of how tight some of these vintage games can be.
It's one of those games where the Spirit token can actually make a big difference.
Definitely, and if he wastelands the sea, it's gonna that Orchard's gonna get reused more than once. Oh, wow.
Interesting. I guess it shuts off more colors to waste the Orchard. I'm with you though. I would have wasted the Underground. I don't think Eric wants to be forced to tap his.
Yeah, it also turns him off of Gush.
Although, right.
I guess.
Well, but what if he has a Gush in his hand?
Yeah,
that's the reason. I think that's why David wasted the Forbidden Orchard. He doesn't want Gush as a response to completely blow him out.
Makes sense. And that is going to get... I would misstep that.
Yeah, for sure. Eric missteps back. Now negate. I mean, he's going to take the negate anyway. There's no reason to give him the information about your hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he hasn't actually cracked those deltas.
He's going to negate it.
Thoughtseizes have looked pretty good for Eric here. I am impressed.
Dave plays a lot of Dave plays a lot. Has a lot of permanence, so it leaves his hand quite low a lot of the time. So the Thoughtseize really makes a difference when he's got a couple of key cards in his hand.
Yeah, I mean Eric's been able to deplete Dave's hand of permissions, and now he's got a window to.
Very nice. If Eric, have we seen any dig through time in Eric?
We saw him draw one. He hasn't resolved one. I mean, he hasn't even attempted to resolve one, but he definitely has them in his list.
If he's playing the 9th place deck from the Vintage Championship, I think it has at least 2 and maybe 3. So,
yeah, it doesn't seem like Eric did play a straight 75, but I mean, It would be very much to do the research, find the 9th place list, like it, tweak it, tune it, test it.
Interesting. So he's gonna, if this resolves, and it will, he's gonna get the demonic tutor here. Wow. This could be it. If he gets the Tinker, this could just be game.
You would DT for Tinker here?
You know,
turn Tinker with force backup?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's gonna win. You're not relying on something that, as long as the cage isn't in play, it's gonna get through everything that Dave has.
Well, he's apparently decided
not to do that.
Right. Well, I mean, he may be afraid of. I mean, DT say go is always kind of awkward.
Yeah, he just needs one more mana. He can do both.
Exactly. Do it all in the same turn. Not give Dave a window to abrupt decay his Soul Ring or play Grafdigger's Cage or anything along those lines.
What Dave doesn't know is that he needs to abrupt decay the Soul Ring.
Right, exactly. There's no way you make that play, though. I don't think there is a way you make that play. I mean, he's been playing a pretty heavy...
He is going to.
He's been playing a mana denial strategy the whole time, right? He's been wastelanding at first sight, so yeah, he is going to abrupt decay the Soul Ring. Wow. Now Derek is much better off than you would be, right? Now he's got a demonic tutor instead of a Tinker.
How unfortunate. Eric has just drawn the Mox Sapphire. And that prevents Dave from using his decision to abrupt decay, prevents him from activating the Deathrite Shaman, which means he probably should have attacked with it. Well, I guess he can still remove a land from the graveyard,
which he does.
Yeah. I guess that's some marginal utility against the dig.
Yeah, so if you were Eric, you would... Now, I don't know why... Eric could have DT'd for Tinker there. And then next turn, play the Sapphire, tinkered away.
That's what I would have done.
He seems to want to be in better control than that. He seems to be waiting for a better spot, I guess. Now, here he can DT for green mana and play the Oath.
Orchard. Yeah, he can get the Orchard and play Oath. But it's sort of...
It doesn't have to be the Orchard.
What's that?
It doesn't have to be the Orchard since they've already...
It can be a tropical island. But I think the Tinker plan seems more sound because you give your opponent a turn to draw a Cage or another Abrupt Decay. Oh, he's going to go over the Oath plan.
Yep.
Wow. That does not make sense to me.
Well, he gets to do it all at once.
Yeah, but he gives him a turn. I mean, to draw answers, not to mention it turns on so many of his removals.
Like the Nature's Claim that's sitting in his hand?
Exactly.
Which Eric will force the will.
But, again, this gives Dave an opportunity to draw a Cage. Not to mention, there are always these awkward situations where, like, the Gristlebrand's are at the bottom of your deck. That is not
Dave just drew a Mox. So he's going to go for the Nature's Claim on Oath of Druids. Eric is going to respond with a Force of Will.
Looks like Eric...
Going Hellbent. Eric has no cards in hand to Dave's 3 cards, so he is not confident in this play, but in fact, it's going to work. He's going to get to defend his Oath of Druids, and if he wins this game, he is advancing to the semifinals. All right. David leaves up his Deathrite Shaman. Let's see what Eric gets. Grizzlebrand.
He only had to reveal like 5 or 6 cards.
So. 6 down. He's got 10 life, too, so he has the ability to potentially draw 7, although I don't think he wants to do that until he gets an attack in.
Right. And on his end step, Dave is going to dock him for 2.
Right.
So Dave could potentially, I guess...
Oh, he drew Dig Through Time off the top of his deck? Oh. Wow. Oh. Eric is so lucky. Not actually been lucky on balance, but that was a hell of a top deck.
He's had the mulligan, I think, more in these matches than...
Crazy.
Probably has had the mulligan the rest of this entire tournament.
All right. He is delving cards for Dig Through Time. What's he going to come up with? 2 of the top 7. What a fun match this has been. What a fun series.
This has been great. We should have done this best 3 of 5.
Wow, he gets Lotus and Tendrils? That's funny. That's
oh God!
Oh, he can just draw 7 here.
And win the game. Yeah, try and...
Probably should, right? There's no way Dave has Lightning Bolt left in his deck. He can Death Rate Shaman you down to 1, but you can draw 7, play whatever.
Yeah.
And then Tendrils. Is that what he's going to do?
If he can... He's thinking about it.
Nah, he's going to say that's the backup plan, I think.
Yeah. But this actually gives Dave an out. So Dave has the out that he can draw he can draw Echoing Truth here.
Right.
That's not it.
That is not Echoing Truth. I mean, he can strip the black mana, but this should do it.
So just to explain the out, he would have had to activate the Deathrite Shaman, taking Eric to 6, then play Echoing Truth on the Gristlebrand.
And then Eric would activate Oath.
And hope that the next
presumably.
Yeah, I'd hope that the Gristlebrand is like the bottom of the library.
Or he showed us a Blightstone Colossus in an earlier game. In any case, Eric is not activating Oath. He has drawn a fetch land. He is presumably going to attack with Grizzlebrand, drop Dave to 11, and gain 7 life. Which I gotta think he's going to use to draw 7 cards. And just try to ice the game right now with that Tendrils he's holding.
If Dave tries anything, he will. But at this point, he can just win the game next turn, I suspect. So.
Yeah, draw 7.
There we go.
What's it going to be? Time Walk.
Oh, Time Walk. He has Time Walk.
Time Walk and a mini Tendrils is good enough. But this game's over. Yeah, no reason for Eric to go off here. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to discard cards. Maybe he can just do the mini Tendrils now. Attack for 7. I don't think he gets to 6 spells, but whatever. Eric Froelich, in a matchup that did not look good, threw Chains of Mephistopheles, which did look good. Eric felt like he stole the first match in a game 3 where I thought David was way ahead, and Eric sort of played a very impressive game 3 to put that W on the board. Kind of got blown out in that middle match. But here, everything's coming up Ephro.
Yeah, it was you couldn't tell who was going to win, and Ephro made a decision to DT for the Oath instead of the Tinker. It's possible, actually, Randy, he may have just sideboarded out the Blight.
Yeah, that occurred to me too. He might have.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Great matches. Well, I'm going to jump off because I've got to take a little break here before I fight LSD.
You got some playing to do. Thanks for hanging out with us, Steve. We will see you on the other side. Eric Froelich will be advancing in this bracket. He will be watching the next match to find out who he's going to be playing against, and he's actually going to join us. We will take a short break. We will let Steve get ready to play. We'll get Eric on, and we'll be right back with the tiebreaker match between Luis Scott Vargas and Steve Menendian. Let's find out which one of these guys has the bye through to the finals and which one has to play Ephro next week. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.